Welcome to the Wolverine Digest podcast, the best spot for objective and authentic coverage of Michigan athletics. If you want open dialogue, honest opinions, and in-depth coverage of the maize and blue, this is the podcast for you. And now, here's your host, Brandon Brown, joined as always by Chris Breiler.
What is going on, everybody, on a Wednesday night? Kind of a crappy day today, man, after yesterday was just incredible.
It was weird, yeah.
Really good weekend.
What's up, John Patrick? What's up, Tony? What's up, Jamie?
Hopefully. Oh, I forgot.
I was going to start by saying go blue.
How the hell did you really?
I don't know. I just
ritual.
It just slipped my mind. I told you I was going to be sidetracked. So we're going to mention this now, but we're going to get to it later. Chris came to me over the weekend and had an idea for a segment. I'm an idea guy. We're calling it Brandon or Chris. Chris is going to read off several facts about one of us, and you guys out there, the viewers, have to guess which one of us it's about. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. We were going over it beforehand. My eyes still have some tears in them. And
now
you guys
listen,
find out a little bit about
to
us
make
here.
this interesting, though. I mean, we know that some of you guys out there like to play along with some of these things that we do. So if you want to there'll be 10 things that we're going to discuss or 10 things that we're going to mention. You're going to have to guess, was it Brandon or Chris? By the end of it, if you got the list 100% right, like as soon as the game is over, like take a picture of your piece of paper, screenshot it, do whatever you do. So next to the time, so we can timestamp it, because we need to know that you didn't go back after the fact and cheat. You'll know once we get it going what it's all about, but hopefully it'll be fun and a reoccurring thing.
Are we going to give the answers away as we go, or only at the very end?
After we'll go back and give them at the end so that people can find out whether or not all at once.
This is going to be
It's going to be great. But what about some of the other stuff? We're going to talk about some serious stuff, right?
We got some regular stuff first, of course. Real quick, AJ Cooper has to know, Chris, new location, because I noticed it right away too.
Yeah, well, yeah. So I'm just upstairs right now. We're doing a bunch of renovations in the house. We're just now finishing with the upstairs level. So now we're going to go start with the downstairs level, and everything is a shit show down there. So wanted to come up here. It's a little more cozy at the moment. Not long term.
There you have it. Chris is just relocated for I don't know, maybe a few episodes. I don't know the exact timeline.
It depends. Well, you never know. You never know.
We'll figure that out as we go. All right. First things first out of the gate, man. Juwan Howard, Michigan basketball coach. He's like Jim Harbaugh 2.0, apparently, because every time there's an opening in the professional league from where he came, his name gets brought up. And now it's being mentioned that he might be a candidate for the Lakers. It sounds like it's pretty much already been squashed, and it doesn't really have any legs. I mean, we all know, excuse me, that LeBron kind of pulls the strings out there and makes everything happen with the Lakers. He was in Miami when Juwan was there, thinks the world of him, etc. So Shams Charania, who's a big-time reporter in the NBA, dropped that information that Juwan Howard might be considered for the job. Doesn't feel like it's really going to happen. Obviously, Juwan has a son at Michigan now, another one on the way. But it was actually his wife who went on Twitter and said, I wish everybody would stop making it about just his sons. Like, he loves Michigan. He loves all those kids. He's there to win a championship, et cetera, whatever. So I guess just to open the debate and the discussion, Chris, is this something that's going to come up every time there's an NBA job open that seems to make a little bit of sense for Juwan? And do you think he's going to take the Jim Harbaugh route and catch a flight out to a place to see if he might want a job, let's say within the next 2 seasons? Because I don't think he's going to be at Michigan for 20 years. I do think that he eventually will get an itch to go back to the NBA. I don't know when that will be, but what do you see for that timeline and how this kind of seems to pop up now at this point?
I think it depends on what happens over the next 2 years, but generally speaking, I think it's going to be a reoccurring theme every single offseason, every single time there's an opening. I mean, in spite of whatever shortcomings you might think Juwan Howard has as a head coach, it's clear that he's a hot commodity because every time there's an opening, especially at the professional level, his name is mentioned. And so I think it's going to happen every single year, but part of it is he wants to coach his kids, but part of it is, I mean, look at what it was like during the tournament run when he's coming off of the court and Jalen Rose is there and Chris Webber is in the locker room talking about how much this means. And I just think you're not going to get that in LA, even though LA offers a lot. Like there's a lot that can be offered elsewhere, but there's something special here that I think he's not going to get elsewhere. His sons playing here are a part of that, but it's so much more. And I think it's going to be hard for anybody to pull him away from Ann Arbor because he's got the whole package here. But that being said, the results have to be there as well. And he's got to be on his P's and Q's moving forward. So that'll be interesting as well.
Ryan, I love John Beilein, but this mess literally happened with Beilein. He just up and dipped like that. Like nobody, nobody saw that coming. I feel like with the Juwan, like it felt like Beilein was a college lifer. I just didn't really see him leaving to go coach in the NBA. And obviously it didn't go very well with Cleveland. And now he's with Detroit as like a, talent evaluator. And he seems to be doing well there. I don't know exactly what his day-to-day is about. I know he's gone on record and talked about it a little bit. I know Isaiah Livers has as well as a member of the Pistons. So things seem to be going well for him with the Pistons, but like, this happened with Beilein. He did what Juwan is kind of being rumored to be looking at. I don't think it's all that serious, like I said, especially with the Lakers. They're not, dude, they just finished outside of the top 10 in the West. Like, that's not a desirable place to go in terms of personnel and what you might be able to get done on the court. Now, like Chris said, it's the freaking Lakers, man. It's the Lake Show. The Showtime, man. It's out in LA. Like, there's in terms of cachet, tradition, all that stuff, it's the number one job in the NBA.
It's like what we talked about with Jim Harbaugh when he was being mentioned with, either you talk about the Bears or you talk about some of the other premier job openings. I forget what job openings were we talking about where it's like, if these come open, in the NFL, like those are jobs that you just have to take. They're not going to come along often. That's one of those, to be coach, the head coach. Now it might be a little bit different in the NBA. It seems like, I don't know, man. It seems like there's more movement at the coaching position in the NBA maybe than there is at the NFL. I don't know.
I feel like both of them have quite a few. I mean, we've talked about it before, how, there were like 8 or 9 jobs open in the NFL. That's like a third of the league, man. Like literally was looking for a new head coach. But yeah, I'm with you. I think that the Lakers job is attractive. It's going to be one of those ones that you're just like, man, that's the Lakers, dude. Like, that's big time. But I think Juwan, like you said, he's happy at Michigan. We know that. But I do think at some point the NBA is going to come calling. He spent 20 plus years of his life as a player and then as a coach in the NBA.
Well, don't forget what happened when Juwan Howard got suspended after the incident in Madison. Reportedly, his agent said he was fielding calls from NBA teams frequently that were asking, what's the deal? Is he going to be fired? Can we get him? Now, I don't know if that was for a head coaching position, but even during that span where Juwan Howard was serving a suspension, the NBA was calling. And so I think certainly, every offseason he's a young guy. He's a likable guy. I think he's a player's coach. And I think his style, it's weird and unique because he's not like a Beilein. I think his style goes well with college kids, but I also think it's going to translate well, or already has translated well in the NBA when he was an assistant.
It's kind of interesting how many parallels there are between Juwan Howard and Jim Harbaugh with this topic. Former, they're at their alma mater.
Same damn initials.
Same initials. Had some success. Had a dip here and there. I mean, I think most people would say that, Jim Harbaugh's expectations were way higher. So even though he might not have had, the 2-4 weird COVID season was a pretty bad dip, but he's been pretty good since he's been at Michigan. Same thing with Juwan. There's been a couple rough patches here and there. Obviously, the incident in Wisconsin was a bad look, and there's been some ups and downs with both. And I know at some points during the season last year, people kind of started to question Howard a little bit as like, damn, is he really as good as we thought? Maybe after last year. And then they had another nice tournament run. So it's interesting. And then I also think that the fact that neither of them would touch any other college job with a 10-foot pole. Like it's Michigan and that's it for them right now, or the professional ranks if they choose to go that route. Now, Juwan's quite a bit younger than Jim Harbaugh is. You see sometimes like coaches will try the professional ranks. It doesn't work out. Then they go back to college again. I don't think there's enough time left for Jim Harbaugh to do something like that, but you never know with Juwan Howard. But my point is they're Michigan dudes through and through. They came back to the college ranks to take over the job at their alma mater, a place that they love. And the only thing that would draw them away would be another job back to the pros at some point. I don't think it's going to be anytime soon for Juwan Howard. And I just don't know if Jim Harbaugh is ever going to get another opportunity, to be honest. I mean, we talked about that ad nauseum earlier this year when he was going through all the stuff he was going through. But it's just interesting because they're not similar guys, but their situations are kind of similar in how they're at Michigan now and what might happen down the line and everything. Chris, we both have sons. I wonder how big. I know his wife came out and said, I wish they wouldn't make it about his sons. That's got to be a big deal, dude. Doesn't it? It's got to be a big deal.
The opportunity to coach your sons at the university where you played college ball.
Yeah,
I mean, that's certainly, I think what she's trying to say is like, I get the message that there's other guys on that team that are, giving their heart and soul for the Michigan basketball program. And he wants to be there every bit as much for those guys as he does his own kids. Like, I get the messaging behind it, but the reality is if you have the opportunity to coach both of your sons at the University of Michigan and you're Juwan Howard, you absolutely have to do that. You'll never get an opportunity like that again in your life. That's like a very, and we talked about this as parents. We understand that. We get it. There's a small window of time for little things that happen throughout, your kids' lives. And that's one of them. If you can coach them at the collegiate level,
that's a 6-year window in your entire life, your entire existence. It's a 6-year window to maybe coach both of your sons at the place where you played. Oh, by the way, your son's wearing your jersey number. Like, that's just awesome, man.
And what are the odds? What are the odds? How, the odds that happens for another father who's a coach who played, you know what I mean? Like, it's such a rare instance and a rare opportunity to just walk away from it for, quite frankly, a Lakers job that may or may not be a good thing moving forward. Like, it just doesn't seem worth it.
I saw someone earlier say, like, you wouldn't touch that job if LeBron was there, but Juwan Howard's never going to look at it that way because, they have a personal relationship. They get along well by all accounts. They spent several years together in Miami. So there's just no way. There's just no way that Juwan Howard is going to look at that and say, I'm never going there if LeBron's there. Like, that, it's the exact opposite for him. Like, I think the job actually would be more attractive to him because LeBron is there. Whether you believe in that or not, LeBron's about to be 38 years old. He's certainly coming down the home stretch of his career, but he's still getting it done. I mean, shit, man, he averaged 30 points a game this year. I know the Lakers were garbage and they didn't even make the play-in tournament, but it's still LeBron James. He can still get it done. He can still play. I don't know if he has a great future in managing a team because he hasn't done that very well. But anyway, it sounds like that's pretty much squashed. I haven't – ever since the first initial report came out, I haven't heard a lot of other buzz about it. It's not like there's smoke billowing – where there's going to be a fire and all of a sudden like Juwan's going to be on his way out. It doesn't feel that way at all, but it is kind of interesting how it seems like every time there's a job opening in football or basketball, the Michigan coaches get brought up more than anywhere else. I don't think you see that. I don't think you see that anywhere else. And I think it speaks to the journey that both of them have had, how much success they both had at the professional level, both as players and as coaches. I know Juwan wasn't a head coach and, didn't make it to the NBA finals or anything, but he's revered. I mean, like, dudes in the league love that guy. And that's why, again, back to the Wisconsin thing, that was a really bad look. Juwan handled that terribly. He admitted that. He apologized for that. He's going to seek help for that, according to him, in that press conference that he held. But that's not how people would speak about Juwan Howard, the people that truly know him personally. And so that's what's always going to be interesting when it comes to NBA jobs because people just love the dude. I mean, they love him, man, and his players love him. And his former teammates like LeBron James and Dwayne Wade and guys like that, NBA, all-time greats, they love him. Yeah, I saw that Mark Jackson's name is not being thrown around for the Lakers job. And there's going to be other big-time names that are going to get tossed out for a job like that. But, again, Shams Charania he's as good as it gets in that industry. He's not – I'm sure he heard that from someone he trusts, completely, that Juwan's name is on the list. I don't know if it's at the top or in the middle or at the bottom, but he's not just going to run with that for no reason. I fully believe that the Lakers maybe maybe on a tip from LeBron, are at least kicked the tires or thought about it or put his name down on some paper somewhere and, it leaked out or it got told to Sharanya or whatever. But anyway, what do you think, Chris? I mean, so it's, he's getting ready to head into his 4th year. How many years is Juwan Howard at Michigan? We got Jim Harbaugh getting ready for year number 8. He's already blown through that, like, Jim Harbaugh can't stay anywhere for more than 3 or 4 seasons. Well, he's doubling that up now. What about Juwan?
It's interesting because when you were talking through that with Juwan and you were talking about expectation, I wondered to myself, like, who right now, like as of today, has the higher expectation? Is it because Jim Harbaugh obviously had extremely high expectations when he came to Michigan, but given how well the basketball program has done, and even though this year wasn't great, Juwan Howard still found a way to get this team deep into the tournament. What program has the higher expectation at this point? Because I feel like for either of these guys to leave without a national championship would be considered a failure because both programs are so damn close. So I don't know what that equates to in terms of, years, but for me, that is a reality within the next 3 years for each of these programs to win a national championship. You look at the young guys that they have on the football roster with McCarthy and Andrell Anthony and the young talent that's there. And then on the basketball side of things, they've got a lot of young talent. They got a lot of experience their freshman year. So I don't know, man. I would say a lot of it's going to be dependent on how quickly they can get to the top of the mountain, because I think both of those guys are going to have a hard time leaving if they haven't done that at the University of Michigan.
I mean, again, back to what Juwan's wife said on Twitter, I have a hard time not believing exactly what Graham Wilshewski. Correct me if I'm wrong on that, Graham. Sorry about that, but I have a hard time not agreeing with that sentiment that Juwan will be there through Jet's career, whatever that, he's a more touted recruit than Jace was. He's expected to be a little bit more of an impact guy. I don't think he's one and done talent wise, but maybe it's a sophomore thing. Maybe he's there all 4 years. I don't know. So maybe it's the next 4 years or less. I feel like that might be the window. I do feel like that might be the window when both of the Howard boys are through Michigan and on their way. Then Juwan can really start, it's just what we talked about. That's not all it's about, but what an incredible opportunity for a father and his 2 sons, man. And once that's done, he's got a Big Ten title in his, under his belt. He's made it to the Sweet 16 over the next couple of years. If there's a deeper tournament, I mean, it's really freaking hard to win a title in either sport. It's really hard, but I don't disagree with you, Chris. If they don't win one, you've got guys like Jim Harbaugh and Juwan Howard that you hired and that made, those are big splash hires, and they don't win a title, not even one.
Think about Jim Harbaugh. What's the thing that they say eats at Jim Harbaugh the most about the NFL? He didn't win the Super Bowl, right?
Making it to the Super Bowl and losing brother. Yeah.
So to me, it's like, what's worse, that or walking away and your record is 1-5 against Ohio State, and you've never won a national championship. And to me, it's like, if you're that type of competitive guy, that type of legacy would bother me as well. Like, well, damn it. Like I didn't do it there either. And so I think the probability of Harbaugh doing it in the NFL isn't likely. So obviously I think he's going to stay until he can get it done at the University of Michigan. And as far as Juwan Howard's concerned, unfortunately it's going to be an every year thing, and it's probably going to become a lot more serious once both of his kids are out of there.
Yeah. I mean, it certainly depends on how well he does, I think too. I mean, if the program starts to take a downward dive,
Sure.
Yeah, I don't know if that'll continue to be the case, but maybe. I mean, again, when you spend that much time in the NBA, Juwan has connections and networks with everybody in the league knows who he is, what he's about, what kind of a guy he is, what kind of a coach he may be at that level. So even if things start to go south at Michigan a little bit, I still don't think that rules him out like it might in football. I just feel like that happens way more aggressively in football. Like if a coach starts to not do so well, like they're not moving up to the next level at all. I mean, that just doesn't happen. So I feel like in basketball, it's a little weirder. Like I just think about this a lot. Like the NBA is a fickle, weird, like Dwayne Casey coaches the Pistons right now. He got fired from the Raptors during the same year he won Coach of the Year. Like what is that? That's bananas. So so back to your earlier point, Chris, where the NBA, the coaching carousel, and how strange that thing can be. You never know, man. And Juwan, like I said, has got a lot of years in the league, man. A lot of years in the association. So we'll obviously continue to track that every season he's at Michigan and see what continues to happen and if his name continues to pop up. All right, sticking with Michigan basketball, Chris's favorite player, Hunter Dickinson. Slightly sarcastic there. I mean, he likes.
I don't not like Hunter Dickinson. I like Hunter. I'm a fan of Hunter Dickinson.
Might have been a little much. He hasn't made a decision yet. We talked about this before. Chris, you put up a little article about, a quote that he put out there. What was his exact words?
He was at the Tigers game and basically said, like, he had taken a couple weeks off from basketball. Now he's back, focusing on it and anticipated that he would make a decision in the near future or something like that. And, it's that's what everybody expects, right? We know that there's a decision that needs to be made. And I think the obvious question, and look, it doesn't matter what people like us think. Who gives a shit whether or not we think he should or he shouldn't, or the fans think he should or shouldn't? But that's what we do. That's what we talk about. That's what we discuss. And for purposes of this show, I have a hard time, and I think I alluded to this a little bit in the article. I have a hard time trying to figure out where he fits in the next level. I know that, like, the one stat that really stood out to me, and I put this in the article, was his freshman year. I think he was 0 for 4 from beyond the arc. His sophomore year, that went up to, like, I don't know, 17 or 17 out of 40 or something like that. He clearly was asked to work on that by whatever the NBA scouts were that he spoke to, and he did, and he put in some effort and he got better. But I just don't see him as the type of guy that can go bang around with guys like Joel Embiid and some of the bigger centers, and I don't see him as being skilled enough to be able to play around the perimeter. So will another year cure that? I don't know. Like if his best chance to get drafted is now, I say take it, because I don't think another year he's going to be able to develop the things he needs to be competitive at that position in the NBA. That might sound like a shitty thing to say, but it's the way I feel.
In the NBA, you have to, and there are very, very few guys who are the exception. I mean, if you comb rosters, you can find a couple guys who don't fit this narrative. But in the NBA, you pretty much have to be elite at something, at one thing. I mean, elite at least one thing. Sometimes two, and then really freaking good at everything else. I mean, it's the NBA. It's the best of the best play. I mean, you see it every year, dude. Guys who just crush it in college can't even make a roster in the NBA because the game just doesn't translate, or, the size and strength advantage that they had in the college level is simply gone in the pros. And Hunter Dickinson's really good at a lot, but I don't think he's elite at anything. And if you're a center, you've got to have elite size. Well, he really doesn't. I mean, he's big. He's big as hell in college. But now, like you said, you've got Joel Embiid, you've got Jokic, you've got Karl Anthony Towns, you've got all these.
And then think about what that looks like, not just during the regular season, but then playoff basketball down on the block with Jokic. You know what I mean? And guys like that. I just think that they'll eat his lunch. And then again, if you try to use him on the perimeter, he's not the guy that's going to come off of a pick and square. It's just, that's not his game.
It's a great point. Luka Garza, he's D-League bound. He might not even make the active roster for the Pistons last year. He was dropping 40s on everybody's head when he was at Iowa. I mean, it's just a different animal, and he's a better three-point shooter than Dickinson is. So it's a tough spot. I mean, you just run down the list of NBA centers, and it's like, dude, Hunter can't play with those guys. He just Steven Adams, Jonas Valanciunas, Vucevic from the Bulls. I mean, all these dudes are beasts, man.
If Hunter could take somebody off the dribble, if he had, what I mean? If he had an element, like if he could, back somebody down and maybe if he had something like that to his game, but that's not there. And I think his bag of tricks is just too limited, and he's not big enough to just go in and push his way around. He's going to have to be crafty. And I just haven't seen enough from him through his first 2 years to think that'll translate well on the next level.
He does have a little bit of craftiness. He's obviously not a plus athlete. I mean, he's a 7-footer that doesn't really play above the rim. He's not a lob threat. He doesn't block a ton of shots. It's just a tough deal when you've got guys in the NBA who are just as big, but more athletic, longer, better skilled, wider skill range.
Think DeAndre Jordan. You know what I mean? Like a dude who can jump out of the gym, who's fit, like not like somebody who fits that mold.
I know.
Like to me, that's Dickinson, the same size, but just two different type of athletes.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. Like DeAndre Jordan's a great example. He can't hit the broadside of a barn from the free throw line. I don't know if he's ever shot a career 3-pointer, but the dude's 6'11", 270, and he's got a 40-inch vertical. I mean, like
he's a problem on the defensive side of the ball.
I mean, you think back to the days when he was with the Clippers. That's Lob City. I mean, he's playing 2 feet above the rim, just dunking on people's heads, running up and down the court like a deer. I just don't see any of those things with Hunter Dickinson. He's really good at a lot of stuff. He's not great or elite at anything. See Cody saying that, a jack of all trades, but a master of none. That's a bad combination when you're trying to make it to the NBA.
Yeah.
And like I said, you can go up and down each roster and find a couple of guys who you're like, how the hell does that guy have a job in the NBA? There's a few, but most of the guys, exactly why they're on the team. And I just that DeAndre Jordan dunk on Brandon Knight will go down in infamy.
Ridiculous.
Yeah, it's so and so. If you're Hunter Dickinson, you know all this. I mean, you're hearing this from people. Hopefully, you're getting realistic and honest feedback from people, and they're telling you some of these things. And dude, you could do a lot worse than coming back to Michigan for your 3rd season and making $500,000 off NIL deals and trying to make it to the Sweet 16 again or the Final Four and living the dream in college and hooping. I mean, you could do a lot worse than that. Now, if he feels like he's done with school and he just wants to play basketball and be a pro, then maybe overseas is the spot for him. But I think he's got a real decision to make, and he's got 11 days to make it.
Yeah. I mean, do you think coming back for the sophomore season was a wise move? Because it seemed like there was a lot of hype surrounding him after that freshman campaign. I think he was freshman of the year, Big Ten freshman of the year. A lot of people were high on him. Obviously there were some knocks against his game, but it seemed like if he came out, I don't know, was he projected to be a first rounder?
No, I don't think so. And I think that's why he decided to come back, was because he didn't get a first round grade and because he was told, look, man, you got to be able to stretch it a little bit in the NBA. And so he did that. I mean, he showed that he can shoot it with decent consistency in the during his sophomore season. But
do you think year 2 was worth it? Did he show enough growth from year 1 to year 2 to I'll be honest. It's not like I'm in a film room dissecting what he's doing. I'm just casually watching it on my couch or watching it from the stands. And it looked the same. Like, yeah, he was taking more shots from deep, but outside of that, his game looked pretty similar, which is good. He's obviously good. His points per game, I think, increased. He's averaging 5 or 6 more points per game second year, but I didn't see a ton of improvements from year 1 to year 2.
I watch a lot of NBA basketball. I mean, I'm running the Pistons site, so I watched all the Pistons games when I took over that site in January, which allows me to see the Pistons a ton, obviously, but all the other teams that they also play against. I don't see a spot for Hunter Dickinson. I take that back. If he is he's going to be a down the bench guy a little bit. I even think of like a dude we're probably going to we're just hemorrhaging listeners at this point because I'm about to talk about the backup center for the Clippers. But
Chris Kaman, are you?
Like Isaiah Hartenstein right now for the Clippers right now. Isaiah Hartenstein, even, who's most people probably don't even know who he is. I mean, you're talking about a guy who's a 7-footer, can go left, can go right, better athlete, lob threat, plays a little bit above the rim. I mean, I don't even think Hunter Dickinson can be him. And he's playing 12 or 14 minutes a game behind Zubats for the Clippers. Like, I mean, it's just another level. And I just don't really know if Hunter's got that. I see this comp from Dwayne. It's not a horrible one, but even Brook Lopez, dude, he's so much bigger than Hunter. He's much broader and longer and bigger, and he shoots the 3 at like 42%. In the NBA,
quicker, faster, more athletic. I feel like Hunter is allowed. He's as good as he is because he can just bully people at this level. He's not going to be able to play that type of game in the NBA, and that's why I think people told him like, "Hey, you got to go out and you got to work on your deep game." And Hunter's really good. Well, the good news, Graham, is that Hunter will not see this video.
And if he does base his decision off of us, then what are you doing? I mean, he's got a. I said it earlier. He's got a head coach right down the hallway from the facility that he practices at that played 20 years in the NBA. Go talk to him. And like I said, hopefully he's getting open, honest, transparent feedback from the people that know what the hell they're talking about, and can set him in the right path. I don't know where that.
I was more impressed with Mitch McGary. I was more impressed with Mitch McGary in college than I am with Hunter Dickinson in college so far. Is that a bad thing? I liked Mitch McGary's game more because I thought he was just more of like a physical junkyard dog, and I thought he would go in the NBA and just be a bruiser. Obviously, a
little more dynamic athlete, different player. Obviously, he would have been more of a 4, where Hunter has to play the 5 because of his skill set. Yeah, man. I don't know. And there's lots of guys who, I mean, dude, even guys like Trey Burke have been nothing but role play, like a 7th, 8th guy on the bench, for multiple teams in the NBA.
And then you have Jordan Poole, who's somebody, a lot of people thought same thing. Like, guy needs to come back another year. He's not ready. And now look at him.
He's about to sign an $80 million contract is what he's about to do. So anyway, we'll see. Like I said, 11 days for Hunter to make his decision. I don't know. I don't know. I don't have even I can't even give like a lean of what I think he might do.
What would you prefer would you prefer him to come back, or would you prefer?
He'd be incredible for Michigan if he came back.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, it's a no brainer Michigan fans should want him back without even a second of hesitation or thought. But there's also some other roster stuff. I mean, there's not going to be that many guys leaving from that team, and a 3 or 4 man class for next year coming in, and you're going to have to figure out how it all works together. And Brandon Johns Jr. is transferring. Zeb Jackson has already transferred. Obviously, Devontae Jones is on his way out. Eli Brooks has played his last game as a Wolverine. So there's some spots there, but it's going to get a little bit interesting, and yeah, we'll see. Graham, that's not a horrible point. I don't know about hurt recruiting, but if you're a big looking at Michigan and you're like, well, Hunter Dickinson's coming back for year 3. I'm certainly not going to start there. And the dude plays 30 minutes a game. Right. So what does that leave for me? If you're a true big, now, if you're a versatile guy like a Moussa Diabate, who's can play on the floor with him as he's 6'11" power forward. It depends. It depends on the guy, depends on the scheme fit, depends on your skill set. If you can stretch the floor and shoot it better than Moussa can, you could play alongside Hunter Dickinson, no problem. But I feel like that was the reason for a lot of Michigan's offensive woes this year, is because Moussa Diabate wasn't quite the jump shooting stretch threat that I don't know. I thought he was going to shoot the ball better than he was able to. And because he couldn't, him and Hunter Dickinson, that's 2 big old bodies trying to carve out space in the paint, and that just didn't work out very well all the time. So I don't know, man. We'll see what happens for Hunter Dickinson, and we're going to know pretty soon. I know he's been putting some kind of cryptic things out there on Instagram, and he's been saying this, and he's been saying that, and I'll know pretty soon. So it sounds like he's really trying to make a decision. I don't know, Chris, if you had to bet on it, what do you think he does? I mean, do you it's a guess. I mean, it's a guess for anybody at this point, I think. So we won't hold it against you, but what do you think?
I think he goes. I think he goes.
I think he comes back. That's crazy.
I would prefer him to come back, but I think he goes. I feel like if he thinks he can get a good enough draft grade first, second round, I think he'll go.
Yeah. We'll see, man. We will see. I think he'll be back, but we'll see how that plays out.
Has he not? Maybe you can confirm this. Has he not? Now I know things have gotten better, but he has taken issue with NIL stuff and believing he could capitalize more on it, right, so to speak. And I know that was a little while ago, but if we're talking dollars and cents and trying to make money and factor that in. I
just got a phone call. Is it screwing up my audio, or am I still good?
You look good.
Seem good?
Well,
okay.
You don't look. You sound good.
Yeah, look at this. Look at this $1 million smile. All right. Still basketball, but on the women's side, man, Naz Hillman. Give it up a little bit, man. Give it up a little bit for Naz freaking Hillman. The 00
Just
is
making history all over the place.
The 00 is going to go down in history at Michigan and for the women's basketball program. I would guess it will never be worn again. Retire that sucker, hang it up in the rafters, and let that go down as Naz's number. Drafted by the Atlanta Dream in the WNBA draft. I mean, look, we haven't covered women's basketball a ton, but if you've paid attention to Naz Hillman, both as a player and as a young lady off the court, how she carries herself, conducts herself, the way she talked about her teammates and her coach and what she gave to the Michigan women's program, second to none. Absolutely second to none. Dropped a 50 burger on somebody last year.
50.
I think it was in a loss, which blows. But still, I think it was at Michigan State. I think she scored 50 against Michigan State in a loss.
I'm not sure who it was.
I'm not mistaken. Somebody will probably correct me if that's not right. But anyway, just really cool, man. Really cool that she got drafted and she's going to get an opportunity to continue playing professional basketball in America. I know there's kind of been like this. You've heard different stars in the WNBA talking about how they don't. Okay, it was Ohio State, and I believe it was a loss. Thank you for that, Randy. You've heard some of the WNBA players talk about how, they get paid better overseas and they'd rather be over there money wise, but they'd rather be here for obvious reasons. Most of them are American. And so hopefully it works out for Naz, man. She's going to be in Atlanta. That's a really cool city for basketball. And, we'll see what it ends up being, but it's cool, man. I mean, like I said, I'm not going to sit here and lie and say I tracked every single thing the women's basketball program did, but if you don't know about Naz Hillman, you're probably not much of a Michigan fan at this point.
Yeah, I mean, I think she is the undisputed GOAT. I mean, she, the Sweet 16 appearance, the Elite 8 appearance. I mean, with her sort of leading the way, the Michigan basketball program reached heights, or the women's program reached heights it had never reached before. And so, I think you're right. You'll never see anybody wearing that 00 jersey on the women's team again, and rightfully so. And I'm excited. Look, again, I'm not going to pretend either. I didn't watch a lot of the women's games, and I certainly don't watch the WNBA, but I'm a big fan of Naz Hillman, and I will certainly be checking in to see, what she's doing at the next level, because she did so much for the University of Michigan, man. I'm a fan.
I'm trying to pull this up real quick so I can show it off because I never got to do anything with it. I was trying to get a hold of Naz during the early part of the season, early to probably the first third of the season, maybe the middle of the season. But I was trying to get in contact with her for an NIL opportunity. Chris was doing some cool stuff with some of the shirts that he was putting together with David Ojabo and some of the other players. And I came up with this design for Naz, and I sent it to her, sent it to a couple other people that I thought could get in touch with her, and it just never happened. And I'm bummed out now because she's gone and the shirt never existed. But for those of you out there who are familiar with the rapper Naz, spells his name differently. His is N-A-S. Naz Hillman spells her name N-A-Z. Naz's album, his most famous album of all time, Illmatic, thought by many hip-hop heads to be one of the best rap albums ever. I'm personally not a huge Nas fan. I don't have anything against him. He's just not somebody that I listen to a lot. But I designed something off of that Nas Illmatic album for Naz Hillman. There it is. Nas Skillmatic with her hometown of Cleveland in the background. That looks just like the album cover for Nas's Illmatic album. And I'm bummed out, dude. I wanted to make that shirt, dude. I wanted to have that black on a black t-shirt. There's nothing Michigan on there, no block M's, no problems with NIL. It was just all about Nas. Every penny was going to go to her. I just thought it would be cool. The women's basketball program was doing really well. I thought it would be a cool thing for her to have her face out there a little bit. Unfortunately, it never happened. Now, who's to say it couldn't happen now that she's at Atlanta, or now that she's in the WNBA with Atlanta? But it would have been really cool to do it while she was at Michigan. And I'm bummed out, man. I'm bummed out it never happened. I sent it to her, ghosted, sent it to a couple other people to see if they could get it in front of her, never heard back. There you go. There it is. Anyway, just wanted to share that because nobody else got to see it. So wanted to throw that up there as we're talking about Naz Hillman.
It's sad. It's a sad scene.
Yeah, Michigan hockey, real quick. I guess we can throw that out there again. Another program that, and there's a lot of very successful Michigan programs that we don't cover in depth for a couple reasons. One, I don't know that much about hockey. Never played it growing up. I'm not deeply woven into it like I am football and basketball. And frankly, it just doesn't have the following. I mean, I hate to put it that way. It's a fanatic fan base but it's a niche market. And so it's just not something that a two-man team like Chris and I devote a lot of our time to. That's the long and short of it. But they made it to the Frozen Four and unexpectedly and, disappointingly lost to Denver. I was talking about this on the radio with Jamie Morris last week, and there were 14 first-round picks, 14 NHL first-round picks in the Division One, either in Division One hockey or in the Division One hockey tournament, and 7 of them played for Michigan. That's insane. That's like Alabama levels of dominance in recruiting and getting the best talent. And they got beat by Denver, who's also a really good team. I mean, all 4 teams in the Frozen Four were really, really good. But for Mel Pearson and for that Michigan team with that collection of talent, it was title or bust. And so it's a bust. I mean, that's the only way you can really look at it at this point. So I don't know. I don't know if you have much to add to that, Chris. I know, like I said, neither one of us are hockey nuts over here, but it's just a bummer that it ended that way. Overtime, too. I mean, they were right there and couldn't get it done against Denver.
Yeah, no, nothing to add. And we get messages or I see messages on the Winged Helmet all the time, for people that, and rightfully so, want us to, put more energy and effort to covering other sports, because quite honestly, there's a lot of Michigan athletics that are doing well right now and a lot of different programs that are doing well. But to your point, it's just with a 2-man crew, it's very, very difficult to do, cover a wide spectrum of sports, especially when you don't know a lot about those. And so, we've sort of narrowed our focus, but if when and if we can, we always try to shed some light on some of the other athletics, which is a good segue into, I'm just going to drop this little nugget.
I was going to say the same thing.
Next week,
Chris, the floor is yours.
Next week, we will have on the show a 2-time men's Big Ten something of the year, 2021, 2022, back-to-back. The dude's the best at what he does at the University of Michigan. We're going to have him on the show. We're going to do a feature article about him. This is part of our effort to try and, this is like a golden age of Michigan athletics right now, and everybody seems to be kicking ass. And this guy's story it's a really good story. It's an important story, and I feel like everybody should hear it. So he'll be on the show next week on Wednesday, but also look for the story to come out as well.
We're going to tease it a little bit.
I gotta try to massage the teat a little bit. Just a little bit.
Massage it. So in other words, Chris is not doing this.
Pulled it out, showed it to you. Not yet. Not yet,
but it'll be cool. It'll be cool. And it's always cool when, like Chris said, when we can shed a little light on some things that normally we don't. And it's all fun for us.
You know what the other cool thing about this is? This connection happened through, and I forget what the acronym is, but Michigan has now put out this. It's basically a platform that allows people like us to connect with student athletes. And, the Winged Helmet is listed on that platform. This individual reached out to me. We connected and we spoke. And then when I found out who he was, I was like, Jesus, yeah, we obviously have to talk about his story. So I think it's going to be good for everybody to hear. And these are the stories that, when you share those posts bragging about how good Michigan's doing across the board, these are also the people that are contributing to it. And I think they deserve some of the spotlight.
Chris, I'm going to give you the floor again. I'm going to give you some dramatic music.
Oh, Jesus.
I'm going to have you make your case right now because you took a few shots, man. You took a few shots on this one. Denard Robinson in the discussion as the GOAT Wolverine. You go.
Okay, hold on 1 second. Let me just pull up. I got to pull up the number.
Dude, I laid that out.
We got it. Okay, we got. No, I'm ready.
So fat and nasty. Are you ready?
Here's why. Put it out there. A lot of people take issue with this, and I don't know what the problem is. And I think the shame when it comes to Denard Robinson is that people hold his athleticism against him. Just because he was a phenomenal runner, they think, oh, he couldn't throw the ball. Well, Here's what happened for a guy that couldn't throw the ball. He finished number 5 all time in career passing yards. He finished number 4 all time in career passing TDs. Oh, by the way, he was also the leading rusher during that time. Finished number 2 all time in career rushing yards, number 3 all time in career rushing TDs at the University of Michigan. You explain to me, you tell me, when will you ever see another athlete at the University of Michigan playing football finish in the top 5 passing and rushing all time? You won't. It won't happen. Will never happen again. You know why? Because Denard Robinson is the GOAT. Now, you can give me Charles Woodson, you can give me Desmond Howard, but you also have to talk about supporting casts. I don't want to knock the people that Denard played with, but he didn't have the guys that those guys had with. Denard Robinson, if there's a Mount Rushmore of Michigan football, Denard Robinson's face is up there. That's it. That's all I got.
I mean, that's a pretty good argument. And look, I don't really disagree. I mean, you and I were talking about this on the phone.
Can I also say one thing before you get in this? I just want to say one thing real quick.
Sure.
The other thing I hate is, well, he was only good against bad teams. Number one, that's not true. I can go back to specific games against good teams where he put up incredible video game numbers. But yes, he was good against bad teams, because guess what happens when players are really, really good and they face shitty teams? They go off. So how is that a knock against Denard Robinson? Like, yeah, man, against UMass, he rushed for 340 yards. I don't see anybody else doing that for Michigan in the last 2 decades. So my point is, don't hold the things he did
Mark.
against him.
Mark.
He carried that program. He carried that program literally on his shoulders, not because he wanted to, but out of necessity. He had to. And he
Chris
did.
said this to me the other day when we were on the phone talking about this. He was like, I think I'm going to bring this story back up. It's something we talked about in the past now that Denard's back on the roster. He was like, can you imagine if he hadn't been on the teams and we had to roll with whoever it was at the time, Tate Forcier or some others? And then I said, can you imagine if he was the quarterback of last year's team?
Oh, my God.
Dude.
Incredible.
Dude.
That's Natty those, time, or 2016 is another example.
Other teams, 2016, 2018.
You take out Spate, and you put in Denard Robinson, and that team, that's a Natty team right there.
Sheesh. Look, it's really hard to unseat Charles Woodson, Desmond Howard, Tom Harmon. You know, Harmon played way back in the day. Nobody here has ever seen him play. We don't even really know what he looked like as a player. But those are 3 Heisman winners, 3 of Michigan's. You know, if you've got a Mount Rushmore, those 3 are up there. And the 4th one is, I think you could make a very strong case for it to be Denard.
How can
Some
you
people
be?
Would probably say Anthony Carter.
Yeah, but how can you be? Listen, how can you be number 1 all time in total yards and then top 5 in all passing and all rushing all time? Like nobody else has done that. To hold that against him because the team happened to be cheeks. I don't know, man. That seems unfair because he kept Michigan football on the map. Thank God for Denard Robinson.
Thank God for Denard Robinson.
Plus the dreads. The shoes untied. I mean, the dude had the total package. It wasn't just, I mean,
the smile.
People watched him go out against the Irish and throw for 250 and rush for 250, and we're like, yeah, but he can't hit the broadside of a barn. It's like, what the hell? Did you see that? Haters.
I love Denard Robinson, and I told you this also when we were on the phone. I probably 3 times a month I just go on YouTube and watch his highlights. Just watch them. The 87-yarder against Notre Dame, the cutbacks where he's breaking dudes' ankles, the first carry, the first play ever out of the gate against Western Michigan as a true freshman. You were just
the carry in Columbus where the 2 defenders go to tackle him and they both bounce off and he scampers in for the touchdown. He was just that was the other thing. It wasn't just that he was good, but it was so exciting and fun to watch, and he made the game fun. And I remember when he was in his heyday, I was actually living out in Washington, D.C. at the time, and I was away from home, and they were still playing the Michigan games out there. And I remember watching him play, and it felt like there was a connection there. I was like, man, I couldn't wait to see what Denard was going to do, and it made it, it kind of brought home out where I was. So there's always going to be a special place for him. My wife is literally on the floor. Look at this.
Oh,
Did you see that?
my God.
My wife. Try not to get in the shot. Now she's pissed.
That is great. There was a sighting. There was a Chantel sighting. A wild Chantel just crawled through the living room, and Chris spotted it. That is good. Well, all right, Chris.
Should we just get to it? We're already hemorrhaging followers. Should we just get to the damn thing?
I was just going to say, you just embarrassed Chantel a little bit. Let's go ahead and embarrass ourselves. Are you ready?
All right. Where's the music? Where's the music? All right. So look, I don't even know what the official name of this game is going to be, but I'm going to give you guys some time out there. If there's any degenerates out there that want to play along, you're going to need, get some paper, get something to write with so you can write down, was it Chris or Brandon? That's how this game's going to go. I'm going to read off certain things that happen, and you're just going to write, is it Chris or Brandon? Number it 1 through 10, and then we'll go back through afterwards. We'll read off the list again, and we'll give you the answer. So does that make sense? Did that make sense, Brandon?
I think so. You're going to read a statement, something that happened or that we did or whatever.
Right.
And it's either Brandon or Chris.
All right. Here we go. Number 1. This host tried to become a legitimate rapper. This host tried to become a legitimate rapper. That's number 1. So I'll give you a minute to finish that up there. Okay. Number 2. This host once got sent home from a previous job for having too much chest hair hanging out. Too much chest hair hanging out. Was sent home from work. There was too much chest hair hanging out. Number 3. This host was once thought to be gay in a Miami nightclub. The onlookers assumed that he was gay. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but this co-host was assumed to be gay at a Miami nightclub. Next one. This co-host, growing up, had a rat tail. I don't know. You guys... Sylvie's in the back. Do you guys know what a rat tail? For anybody out there who doesn't know what a rat tail is, it's where you basically shave your head, and there's just a long strip of hair. So this
are we really doing a rat tail definition right now? Who needs that?
Had a rat tail growing up. Well, some people that didn't grow up. Look at that, Chris. People think I had the rat tail. Okay, this person got suspended from school. Well, actually, here, let me put it this way. Both of the hosts of this show were suspended from school. One of the hosts was suspended for stealing something from the teacher, or stealing some things from the teacher. The other was suspended because he got caught with porn. So one was stealing something from the teacher.
Say it again, please.
The other got caught with porn.
Sex addiction or something?
The next one. This host takes nightly baths. Nightly baths. So at least one bath every
night.
Single night of the week, including weekends. One bath a night.
Nightly baths. Correct.
Nightly baths. Next. This co-host dug through the trash in Indianapolis looking for memorabilia after the Big Ten championship win. This co-host was neck deep in trash bins, hoping to find some sort of memorabilia after the Big Ten championship win in Indianapolis. All right, next. This host, there is no co-host here. This host has never been in a physical altercation in his life. Never been in a fist fight, never shoved, has never been in a physical altercation. All right. Next one. This host once as a teenager,
I know
once took a shit while looking directly into his father's eyes. This host, as a teenager, took a shit while looking directly into his father's eyes. And finally, this host once held a previous job selling fake Gucci suits out of the trunk of his car in downtown Detroit. Fake Gucci suits out of the trunk of his car in downtown Detroit. That's it. Those are the 10 questions.
It's a strong list of things.
Those are the 10 questions. And so if anybody's played along, if anybody, look at somebody saying definitely Chris, Brandon. Look, if anybody played along, make sure you get your list compiled. If you can, take a photo, screenshot it, send it to me on the Winged Helmet, send it to Brendan on Twitter. However you can get it to us, send it to me so I know so we know you got it right. But what I'll do now is we'll just go through and we'll read who was what, so people know which was who, right?
Yep.
All right, so here we go. Was it Brandon or Chris? The first one was tried to become a legitimate rapper. Plot twist. It was kind of both.
Both of us thought we were Eminem from 8 Mile in college. True
I'll
story.
be honest. Okay, so full disclosure, after Eminem came out, I'm not even joking, I started writing rhymes in a notebook, and I was like, this is just what I'm going to do with my life. I'm just going to go that route. I'm like, it didn't happen, obviously, but I was committed to the point where I was writing rhymes and practicing. I think you went a little bit further, I think.
Several freestyle battles in college for me. I mean, both of us are wordsmiths. Chris and I are now writers for a living.
Did you have a mixtape?
No. Well, I recorded some stuff on my computer. I don't think I could go as far as calling it a mixtape that I like distributed. But there are recordings of me on the beat.
Phenomenal.
Even got a girlfriend off of one of them. I'm going to throw that out there.
Well, this was a while. So both of us were seriously considering becoming
Chris,
rappers.
I cannot believe you're going to tell that story and not talk about your custom license plate.
I don't know that I wanted to. This is not the time nor the place. The world's too sensitive for that right now. I'm worried about that.
Really?
We'll save that for another day.
Oh, man, I thought that was good stuff.
All right. So the next one was this person once got sent home from work from a previous job for having too much chest hair out. I'm sure many people guessed it. That was me, of course. I wore a wool sweater with a V-neck T-shirt underneath. I got some chest hair. My boss had an issue with it and was like, called me in the office and was like, "Hey man, like you gotta go home and you gotta change that." So that was me. The next one was had a rat tail growing up. The rat tail, the little. Jesus. That was also me. I confirmed with Brandon. Brandon did not have a rat tail.
No rat. I had some questionable haircuts, but rat tail never made it onto my
Which
head.
is a rite of passage when you grow up in the sticks. If you didn't have a rat tail, you weren't really from the mud. Is anybody still listening?
Oh, we got a few.
We got a few. Okay. Next one was thought to be gay in a Miami nightclub. That's none other than our boy Brandon Brown. Now, Brandon, he has an explanation for why. But what did they tell you? They came up and tapped you on the shoulder and said what? They said take good care of him, or
take good care of him. I'm gonna put his business in the streets, dude. I don't care.
Just do it.
Zach Shaw. I used to work with him on the radio at WTKA. He now works for 24/7 covering Michigan. Good dude, really good at his job. The dude wouldn't stop throwing ass. He was throwing ass all over the place, and I happened to be.
I can confirm.
A little too close to where he was doing it at.
Ass was being tossed. And I've never seen anybody toss ass. I've seen people shake ass. I've seen somebody move ass, but I've never seen ass thrown.
Throwing cheek, dude. Throwing cheek left and right all over South Beach, and I was too close to it a couple of times. And an elderly woman, not elderly, older than us, though, came up and talked to us and was like, hang on to him. And I'm like, whoa! Not that there's anything wrong with that. It's not my cup of tea. That's just I just know him from work. I can't control where he throws his ass or what he does with it. That's not my thing. He ended up making out with her, so there you go.
Oh God! All right, we're gonna go right into the next one. This host took a shit whilst looking directly into his father's eyes as a teenager. Took a shit looking directly into his father's eyes. Brandon, do you want to fess up as to who that was?
It's me. And honestly, you made it sound not even as bad as it was, because the way it should have been worded was this host shit his pants while looking into his father's eyes. It, like, you know, if you're if you're sick or something and your dad's trying to help you out and you're sitting on the can, like that's not good. But I was on foot in a parking lot looking through the window of my dad's 65 Mustang, telling him, "Dad, take me to McDonald's, please, ASAP, now." We were at the video. This tells you when this was. I was like 12 or 13. We were at the video store renting video games, got hit with a stomach attack, went out to the car. "Dad, take me to McDonald's right now. I got to go. He's like, "Brandon, well, you could go when we get home. It's only 5 minutes away. What do you go back in there?" And I let it go. I let it go while looking square into my dad's eyes. And I said, "Dad, I just went." He's like, "What do you mean you just went?"
That just happened.
And I had a friend. There was a friend with me. He was still in the store. I just got in the car and didn't say anything. And he came out and he's like, "Dude, what do you do?" And I'm like, I don't really want a video game anymore. Let's just leave. And didn't tell him what really happened on that night until we were in college. I just own it now. I'm 37, dude. I don't care.
Yeah, just own it. There's nothing wrong with it. All right, we'll keep right in line. Has never been in a physical altercation. Has never been in a fight. Has never been in a shoving match. Never been in a physical altercation. That also is Brandon.
That's me, man. I'm a lover, not a fighter, bro. I'm a lover, not a fighter. And honestly, I think a lot of this stems from me being a super, super tiny kid and a very, very late bloomer. I mean, I wasn't fighting anybody. I couldn't. I was a tiny, scrawny, skinny kid when I was younger. And so I learned to have a sharp tongue. I learned to make fun of people really well, but it never came to blows. And, you know, I'm a pretty likable guy. I think I could say that out there. I never had a reason to fight.
Not according to Twitter.
Well, hey, you say a little bit about Jim Harbaugh and everybody wants to fight you, I guess. But no, man, I've never been in a fight, dude. Never had to come to that for me.
That's cool. I've had my ass kicked a couple times. Next question. Next. Well, it's not really a question, but this host takes a bath every single night of the week. Every single night of the week, even on the weekends. That's yours truly.
That's Mr. Bryler.
It's me. I don't know what happened.
That's Mr. Bald Head, beard, tats.
I'm not sure exactly when it started. I still shower, like I have my regular shower routine. But every evening I take at least one bath. Sometimes it spills over into two baths, depending on how late I'm up.
Wait.
Yes, those 2 baths.
Dude, that's like 3 hours of your day.
No, but it's middle of the night. Like I just stay. I don't sleep well. I stay up late at night, and I get so bored. I'm like, I guess I'll just go sit in the tub. But I'm taking at least one bath every single night. So that's me.
All right,
let's keep it going. Sold suits out of the trunk of his car in downtown Detroit. Fake Gucci suits. That again, yours truly.
That's the story.
Not necessarily the highlight of my life, but it was an experience. The bath details.
Enough details about Chris in the bath.
I would legit look. So I would legit get suits, shoes, sunglasses. I'd put it in the trunk of my car. I would drive down to downtown Detroit. I would pop the trunk of my car. I would hang the suits up. I would line up the glasses and line up the shoes. And I would try to sell them to walkers by. Walker.
This guy.
I was one of those guys.
Yeah.
And I didn't really do well. In sales, but that was a previous job of mine. So again, not a high moment. Where are we at here?
There's the double. We've both been suspended, but why?
Oh, this is the final one, I think, right? Okay. Both of us have been suspended. One of us for stealing from the teacher. And I want people to answer this in real time, too. One of us for stealing from the teacher, and the other one for they got caught with porn. They got caught with porn on site. Let me ask you this. Who got caught with the porn and who got caught stealing from the teacher? Is it's
please in the comments, write the name and the offense. The name and the offense.
Who was it? Brandon was
Name
the thief. Oh,
and offense.
so Darren implying I'm the porn. Okay. Chris porn. Chris had the porn. Okay. Thanks, Dwayne Jones, for coming through. I'm not like I'm not. I don't like how the first few people right out the gate were like, "Oh, Chris porn for sure."
You know what? I'm gonna put Sean's comment up there. Chris, smile at the camera right now, and I'm gonna screenshot this. Chris had the porn.
It was me. I had the porn.
Chris had the porn, folks.
Oh my God, what a day that was. I remember how the whole deal went down. So I remember I had this friend, it was in middle school, and I had this friend who had porn. And I was like, hey, man, I want to get some of that porn too, because I was in middle school. And that's what, that's what you do at that age. So he was supposed to, the deal was he was going to bring it from his locker to my locker at the end of the school day. Well,
strong plan.
The teacher ended up showing up and broke up the deal as it was going down. And I had to go sit in the principal's office with my stack of porn mags on his desk. And it was like, now that I'm an adult, I would have looked back and I would have just reasoned with the kid, like, I get it, man, but you can't do that here. I think I got in some sort of trouble. I can't remember.
Mine was my math teacher, probably 9th, 10th grade. He was just he was an old teacher. He barely got out of his chair. Not a lot of people dug him that much. I would steal something out of his classroom every day and keep it in my locker. And it started off with really small stuff. I stole like a pen or something or whatever. And then it turned into a game. I eventually ended up getting like a 36-inch wooden board protractor out of his room down to my locker. And then the piece of the days, what's that saying? De la resistance? Probably said that wrong. Piece de resistance. I got
clearly you weren't paying attention in school. You were stealing.
Class. I got a 3 to 4 foot bowling trophy out of his room, down the hallway and into my locker, and didn't get caught. I only got caught when he was our hall monitor during our lunch hour, and he would stand in the same spot every day and swing his keys on his lanyard into his hand. That was like his thing that he did. I stole the lanyard off his keys, and he finally realized that stuff was missing from his room. I don't know how they knew it was me. Go figure. But They went to my locker during lunch and got at all the stuff. So when I came back to my locker, all of it was gone, and I was like, oh, boy, this is
busted.
Busted, dude. And that's what happened. So,
see, actually, you know what? Now that you've told that story, I think my porn incident is actually more innocent, to be honest.
Well,
I was just trying to have a good time. I wasn't trying to take nothing from nobody.
So here's the thing. I actually didn't steal anything because he got it all back. They cited me and suspended me for harassment of a teacher. That's what they called it.
Well,
which I was. I was harassing him fully. So there you go. Brandon or Chris? Is it Brandon or Chris?
We'll get better at that segment as time moves on. But that's fine. It gives you a little bit of insight into, who we are, what we, some of the things we've done in our lives.
You got a friend in me, Chris.
You got a friend in me.
That is enough for tonight. I mean, we did a pretty good job, I think, for the first. I think that segment only was about 15 or 20 minutes, but so we had 40 minutes of good, constructive stuff. Then we lost all of our listeners, and the true OGs stuck around to learn some really valuable stuff about us, and I think that's big. And so, props to you guys for the 11 viewers left and going down. No, we stayed strong at about 30.
Wow.
Yeah, I have the. Anyways, thanks for those of you who stuck around. We will be back again on Wednesday. We'll have some more stuff to talk about. Maybe another dumbass segment where everybody can leave and go do something more constructive.
Yeah.
Till then, take care, everybody. We'll see you on Wednesday.